Welcome to the discussion of questions from previous JEE advanced question papers for the benefit of IIT aspirants who are going to have the JEE advanced examination after a few days. Now here is a question from JEE advanced 2022 paper 1. Now it is a very simple question on surface chemistry. You are given 4 statements and the correct options related to adsorption process. The 4 statements are regarding adsorption, which you know is a surface phenomenon. The condensation of molecules at the surface of a material, what is called adsorbent, is known as adsorption. And the materials, the molecules which condense at the surface is known as or are known as the adsorbate. And depending upon the forces operating, the attractive interactions between the adsorbent and adsorbate, adsorption is usually classified into 2. There are 2 types of adsorption. One is physical adsorption or physisorption, also called van der Waals adsorption, and the other is chemical adsorption or chemisorption. So the questions are based on that. There is a statement A, chemisorption results in unimolecular layer. Now there is a famous theory relating to chemisorption, that is chemical adsorption, but is known as the Langmuir's theory. Langmuir's theory, and according to Langmuir's theory, in chemisorption, the adsorbate molecules are forming a layer of 1 molecule thickness. That is, a unimolecular layer is formed. So suppose it is adsorption of hydrogen or nickel. At the surface of the nickel, there are the nickel atoms, and the hydrogen atoms or the hydrogen molecules are adsorbed on the nickel atoms in such a way that a unimolecular layer is formed at the surface. So that is a very important postulate, and of course experimentally verified in many cases of chemisorption. So chemisorption results in unimolecular layer. That's a correct statement. And as far as physical adsorption or van der Waals adsorption is concerned, it is very often multimolecular layer formation. The layer formation is not of 1 molecule in thickness, but more than 1 molecule in thickness. That means multimolecular adsorption. In the case of physisorption, there is a unimolecular layer formation in the case of chemisorption. So the first statement is correct. Now coming to the second statement, the enthalpy change during physisorption is in the range of 100 to 140 kilojoule per mole. Of course, in physisorption, not so much enthalpy change takes place actually. Usually, the range of enthalpy change is 20 to 40 kilojoule per mole. It's only that much. There is only 20 to 40 kilojoule per mole. So that is the enthalpy change during physisorption. Actually, the heat that is evolved during adsorption is known as heat of adsorption. So the heat of adsorption, also called enthalpy of adsorption, is only to the extent of 20 to 40 kilojoule per mole in the case of physisorption. The energy evolved is only 20 to 40 kilojoule per mole in physisorption. So the second statement has given 100 to 140 kilojoule per mole is no longer correct. So that's a wrong statement. Now the third statement is chemisorption is an endothermic process. not at all. Chemisorption is an exothermic process. Chemisorption is an exothermic process. Chemisorption involves the formation of chemical bond between the surface atoms of the adsorbent and the adsorbing molecules, the adsorbate molecules. And it is something like a chemical bond formation. And you know that during bond formation there is always release of energy. So it is an exothermic process. So chemisorption is not an endothermic process, it is an exothermic process, and therefore the third statement is also wrong. Chemisorption is not an endothermic process, it is an exothermic process. And the last statement is lowering the temperature favors physisorption process. Remember that in physisorption, the forces involved are weak intermolecular forces, or what you call van der Waals forces, between the adsorbent and the adsorbate. And suppose temperature is increased, thermal energy is given, and the thermal energy can be utilized to overcome the attractive forces, these van der Waals interactions, and that will result in the escape of molecules from the surface. Escape of molecules from the surface is what you call desorption. So increase of temperature will favor desorption. Okay? So lowering the temperature favors physisorption process. So increase of temperature favors desorption, whereas lowering of temperature favors adsorption. So lowering of temperature favors physisorption is a correct statement. So the correct statements are A and D. A and D are correct statements. It is a question based on the fundamentals in the subject adsorption, which is one unit in surface chemistry. Surface chemistry actually has two parts. One is adsorption and the other is about colloids. And in this section on adsorption, you study about various adsorption phenomena, physisorption and chemisorption, the differences between physisorption and chemisorption, and the mathematical formulations of physisorption and chemisorption, and things related to that. And here, this question is pretty simple based on the fundamentals, only the fundamentals. No complicated equations or anything of that sort is given in this question. It's simply fundamentals relating to adsorption. So any student who is thorough with the basic things in adsorption can very easily answer this question. So here again I would like to stress that don't be under the impression that all the questions for JEE Advanced are very tough questions. No, very often they ask even questions from the basic details, that is questions which require thoroughness in basic details in each chapter. So this is such a question. So there are two types of questions. One is basics and the other is application type questions. So this is a question which is based on the basic details that you study in adsorption. So it's pretty simple. I hope it is clear. Thank you.